I haven't stretched since December and my body feels better than it has in decades. So I feel like I've taken 30 years off my life recently. Now, for me, that sounds ridiculous because most of my adult life, since probably 20, it's been made up of regular stretching, chiro, yoga, mobility, foam rolling, rehab, massage, activation, body work. None of these things were optional for me. They were just how I managed, how I stayed functional. And that's why I'm excited for today's podcast, because this is very personal and it's what I want to unpack today, because I really thought I was optimizing my body. But what I can see now is that I was just over managing a really expensive system. So welcome to the Mind Body Guy podcast, powered by the Human Efficiency Method, where high performers learn how to operate at full capacity without losing themselves in the process, so they can feel better, think clearer, perform higher without crashing. Because output is revenue, but efficiency is profit. And true high performance is where you get maximum output, but with minimum internal cost. I'm Levi Walz, founder of the Human Efficiency Method. Today I want to talk about the golf game that changed my entire body and created the structural efficiency system within the Human Efficiency Method. It's how I completely reorganized how I now see pain, posture, tightness, rehab, performance, the spine, your automated structural muscles and system, and physical aging. So welcome to today's efficiency brief. Today we are running the human efficiency lens over pain, tightness, rehab, mobility, stretching, all the things, and why our body can need so much maintenance just to feel normal. I believe, and I'm one of those, or was one of those people that look at pain and restriction through the lens of tight muscles or weak shortened muscles, longer muscles, poor posture, aging, old injuries, bad movement, not enough mobility, too much mobility. and truly, some of that is useful. I mean, we've all been to a physio, we've all had massage and felt the difference. Rehab can help, mobility can help, strength work helps, chiro helps, osteo helps, massage helps, yoga helps, all the things. Kinesiology, body work helps, fascia release helps. And they helped me stay functional and highly capable for decades. I believe most people never ask, and what we should be asking is, why does the body keep returning to the same pattern? Why does it keep tightening? Why does it keep bracing? Why does it keep protecting? And why do you need to do more and more management just to feel normal? In the Human Efficiency Method, we don't just ask, how do I fix this tightness or remove this pain? We ask, what load created this adaptation? What is the body protection? And what is the cost of keeping this protection running? Because your body may not be broken. It may just be protecting you. And that's what this entire episode is about. Till the last 7 months, where my complete structural body has changed everywhere, I would have told you I felt pretty good. In fact, great, especially for what I thought was possible for my age. I'm 48. I was in no pain. I felt fit, active, strong. And compared to most people my age, I looked really good. I felt really good. My performance was much higher. So I was pretty happy with what I thought was possible for what I do. I do a lot of sitting. I'm back to back with clients most days. I am 48. I've had a lot of sports injuries. And I thought, well, this is the best you can hope for, because I've spent 26 years trying to improve every part of my body. I've been in this field since 2001, and I've seen every possible expert for all my injuries, and I'll go through these later. I have optimized everything. I've done all the work. I would consider myself an expert in body work and rehab and physical human performance. So based on what I've seen with clients, based on what I know with my body, and through the feedback, having worked with the best in the industry, I've worked with high-level sports physios, sports doctors, for people that have worked for the Australian Olympic teams, on my own body. and understanding their feedback and what's possible, I had just come to the point that I'd done as much as possible on my body, and the things that wouldn't fix or that needed constant maintenance, that was just the cost of aging and the cost of getting older and the cost of playing a lot of sport and having a lot of injuries and being quite sedentary other than gym work right now. I've rehabbed hundreds and hundreds of people, and seeing their changes, I pretty much just considered my body the best it could be for what's possible, right? But in this last 7 months, I've just been blown away, and I realize now I was just over managing a really expensive system, and I was slowly just accepting losses in freedom over and over. Like the things I would do, right? If I had to play tennis and golf one week, I would be like, nah, I can't do that. Or I have to make sure I've got an extra yoga session in, or I'll book in a massage, or I'll go see the chiro the next week. Or if I played a lot of guitar, I'd be like, oh, can't play guitar, can't play tennis this week because my forearm will go, my shoulder will go. If I had to go traveling on a bus or a plane, or if I went on a couple of days seminar and you sit in a seat that's not your perfect seat, or I had to stand too long, I couldn't go to festivals, or my calves would lock up, or I'd just have to rehab them the next day. So that the body would react, but then I would fix it or manage it, right? And so I started to limit what I would do. Like, I want to surf more, but no, my body can't handle that. I want to do some other things. My body can't handle that. Oh, I have to limit this. I was really highly managed, and, yes, I wasn't in pain, but the only reason I wasn't in pain because I was managing things. I was offloading cost and etc. And because I am so aware in my own body, like I have all the knowledge about which muscles, which line of pull, which joints, how the fascia is affecting things. I've experienced this. I've rehabbed so many people and myself. I knew what to do at exactly each place to fix the issue, and pretty damn quickly. So, and I also have such awareness in my body that when things feel out, I can act before the pain rises. Like I'm aware of my symptoms, or where my symptoms used to be, and I'd be like, okay, I can feel that trap starting to tighten up. If I don't activate this soon, my neck's going to pull, and my neck's going to be out. I'm going to have to go see the chiro. That'll be 4 weeks in a row. So I would act early. And like I said, my body felt and looked really good. People would comment on how good my posture was. They'd say things like, your posture makes me feel terrible. And that is a lot of because of what I used to do on my body, but also because my body, since the age of probably 8, was straight like a ruler. There were no curves. And that's something that's pretty exciting to talk about, which I'll do in a second. But I've got all my curves back, and I didn't even make it happen just through running this system. I've got all the cushioning, all the elasticity back in my body that I've been chasing. I spent 26 years trying to do this by forcing the body to have curves. I used to chuck shit on my head and contortionism. Like, I used to be in these contraptions that used to force my body into curves, and then the body would just go back as soon as I stopped, right? I've done everything, and I'll go through some of these in the future. But when you do it correctly, the body it's like a click, and it just goes bang. It just happened, and it's so exciting. So where do I want to go? I was overmanaged, far too many overmanaged, but finely tuned. And, I'll take you through some of the things. I've brought some of the things that I use, but every day just to manage me, let me grab some of these things. So I used to stick this in my psoas, in my QL twice a day, pretty much to make up for my seat and for the shortening for so many hours in the desk. I used to have my own little acupressure, cupping machine that used to go on my glutes, neck and lower back. Lots of foam rolling. I used to have one of these little machines that I'd go into my forearms, into my traps all the time. I used to do this on the back of my neck, and I used to be constantly arched like this. I haven't done one stretch in 7 months. I haven't stretched my calves. I've got a calf block that I used to use pretty much daily. Well, since I was like 14, when a sports physio told me that if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to walk by 30. Really scared me. But the foam roller, fascia work, nerve gliding, anything that was useful to me. I did applied kinesiology pretty much for the last 20 years. If I didn't stretch I'd manage my normal day, but if I wouldn't do like a hot yoga session or a big long stretch weekly, then I would have to do chiro, quite frequently. And if I was really, really good, I wouldn't have to go back. But I haven't been to the chiropractor again for 7 months. I haven't stretched for 7 months, haven't gone to the chiro, I haven't needed a massage. I've had a couple of massages, 2 or 3 outside of this, but normally I would be getting the hard rehab to get rid of, my muscles are different. Like when the masseuse used to massage me, it would be like not, trigger point. Now when they massage me, because of the shift, my body is like this elastic, just smooth. So I just get a massage now, or the ones that I've had, just for relaxation. So a nice soft one. And I don't even actually know if they're any different or if I just feel like they're soft. There's just no trigger points and there's no pain, where it just used to feel like gristly knot because my system was so compensated all the time. It's just an amazing thing. I remember the first massage after thinking, it's the same person I've had. Are they just going easy on me, or what's going on? But it's just my body's different, and it's hard to explain if you can't feel it. But just regular work, right? And I've shown all those machines, like activation work, so much fascia work. Like fascia work's amazing, but why do you have to keep doing it all the time? My gym sessions, my warm-up was becoming about 45 minutes. So I'd start on the cross trainer, warm up, then I would activate every possible muscle, then I would do a workout, then I would cool down, and then I would make sure that, if it was leg work, I wouldn't sit in a certain way too long, or I'd make sure that I have different breaks. Everything about my body was optimized. And then, like I said, I would manage how much tennis or how much surfing or how much golf or whatever. I couldn't even, if I had a big session, I couldn't lay in on the couch with a slumped back, because that would just screw my back. So I had to make sure that's like, okay, I'm feeling tight right now. Okay, I need to make sure I put pillows underneath my lower back, and just manage things all the time. Health cover, that was essential. I have, it's a 20 grand massage chair. It's the top of the line, so that you can just get ones at the end of a day. I'm going to sell that massage chair now. I'm getting rid of my hospital extras covers because I don't use them. All these equipment, these rehab equipment that I just showed you, I don't use it. I haven't used any of it for 7 months. It's mind-blowing for me. And I'm just going to keep talking about it, and we'll see where we go on this. I'm just sort of letting this one fly. So where it all changed for me was December 2026. And I was playing golf with a mate, and by about hole 13, my back went, and I could just feel it. And I was like, and I was frustrated, and really the last, 5-6 holes were horrendous, like just so bad. But then what happened? Went to pickleball that night, and then, sort of was like, oh, it's a bit tight. Woke up in the morning, and I couldn't walk for 2 days, like out. And that's when everything changed, because I got so frustrated. I'm like, obese 70-year-olds on 6 different medications can play golf 6 times a week, and I can't even play a full round, and I am physically fit, all the things, it was like, no. What I'm doing is wrong. And so instead of just continuing on what I'd done previously, I actually went and treated myself like I would one of my clients. I took a complete timeline of and emotionally, biochemically, everything's optimized, but structurally, because I'd always had to manage everything. That's the thing where I just had accepted this is normal, right? And This is the best you're going to get with your past, with what you do. So I never really sat down. I've tried for 26 years to fix some of the things that I'm going to tell you about in a second. And I'd seen all the experts and I trained myself in all these different areas as well. And they just needed constant management. So I guess I just started to believe that the theory that I ran with my clients in their emotions and their emotional health, and with, the same protocol that I'd use to reverse autoimmune diseases or ADHD or other things, just couldn't happen in the body, the body. But after this golf game, I went, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I did a complete timeline from when I was little all the way up, every injury, everything that would happen, and I mapped it all out. I remember when I was 10, I fell off the top bunk and landed on the side of my body and almost knocked myself out, but I was screaming and, went to hospital. That affected my whole jaw, my neck. From that moment on, even as a child, I remember losing acceleration and agility. Like, I was still pretty fast, but before then I had huge acceleration and mass. And I just remember playing footy and going, why can't I do what I used to do? And I had to go start seeing a chiro, and in a country town, it was like this big ordeal, and he'd do my neck and my hip and etc. And I started getting, jaw things, which I'll talk about. But by the end of, and I've managed that incredibly well. But by about 24, I used to wake up in the day and I used to have to massage my mouth and around my neck just to open my mouth. It would lock because of the injury. So I've done a really good job in managing, or I'd done, but now it's totally different. But so I went back to there and went through every injury, Osgood-Schlatters in when I was 13 or 14. Then I had different footy injuries, different AFL injuries. I did MCLs. I did so many ankle sprains, shoulder impingements, bursitis. A really big one, a really strange one was did an ACL in 2012. And the interesting thing, which blew me away, was immediately when I did that, I couldn't do chin-ups anymore. I used to be able to do 20 strict full-length chin-ups. I immediately went to 10 within the first time. I couldn't do muscle-ups anymore. My FMS score, which is a performance system used by NFL, and I'd implement that within my clients and etc. I halved in my score. I immediately after doing my ACL, I couldn't touch my hands behind my back anymore. And I've only I've only got that back since doing this, but couldn't even get my left hand behind just slightly here. Everything shifted. It was like my body, as soon as it lost that stability in the knee, it said, okay, I'm going to take more stability from the rest of your body. I lost, I don't know, I'd say I could lift 80%, 75% of the same weights that I used to be able to. I lost my power. And once I did my timeline, it was so clear that every year my body was losing capacity, and I was having to spend more time managing my body, and I was having to reduce the activities that I was able to do, right? It's almost embarrassing for me. I don't want to sound like, I feel embarrassed because the way that I've treated every client for the last 5 years, when they come to see me with, I put everything across and I timeline everything, and we just reverse the negative adaptations that the body has gone through until they come back to full health. And that's got to do with cardiovascular changes, diabetes, metabolic changes, hormonal changes, autoimmune changes, the C word changes, adaptations, pulling them back until they don't need, their body just manages it again. But for my own body, and because I'd never seen a spine just change. I've seen, structural changes being forced, but never actually happened. So I stopped believing it was possible. Once I saw the pattern, instead of going, okay, this is not how I want to live anymore. I want to be able to play golf. I'm done managing my body. So I started to act and ask the same questions that I asked. Like, why does my system need this? Why does it need this restriction? Why do my shoulders not work anymore? Why do my knees have to move in all the time? Why does my pelvis constantly get this anterior forward lean if I don't constantly manage it? Why am I rounded over? Why do I need so much stretching all the bloody time? And then I treated it like I do with somebody's anxiety, somebody's depression. So once I'd done the timeline of all my injuries and I started looking at, okay, rather than controlling how my body works, because really, like I said, I've been an expert in managing. I controlled every shift. My shoulders used to wing. I did all the serratus work and I did the rotator cuff work to stop my shoulders winging. If I wanted my feet, I used to overpronate and I used to get orthotics, but then all of a sudden every year my foot would get worse and worse. So I trained my feet through proprioception work to get stronger and fixed that as much as I could. I've never been able to fix it, but my knees always rolled in. I've never had anyone be able to fix that. It was always, someone would say it's the feet, someone would say it's the hips, someone would say it's, but I would do VMO work, I would do glute med work, lots of clams, lots of VMO lunges, all the things. I was forcing every single thing, lots of mobility work all the time to keep my body being able to rotate, being able to bend. I would do down dog, cat, cow, all the major, cobras every single day, twice a day, like managing my body. In the last 7 months, I've saved myself at least an hour a day of managing. The big shift is now I don't do any of that. And all I do now is give the body what it needs to operate at full capacity, and it reorganizes itself. Like, the shifts that have happened have been crazy. Just watching it happen and noticing it and sometimes thinking, shit, is this getting worse? But then looking at all the data like I would with everything else and going, okay, there's a lot of pain all of a sudden in this part, but everything else is fine. Let's just let it go. And what happens is, as the body reorganizes itself and it lets go of old patterns, what I've noticed is that as one area of the body releases a hold that it shouldn't be doing, the body's amazing. Like, I'd say it, a really common one is when your adrenals get exhausted, your thyroid goes, hey, I can help out. I'll step up. I will take over the load. And that's where, you end up getting people that always, a thyroid person, every single time for me, they've had adrenal problems previously. And then normally if their thyroid gets exhausted, then we start getting autoimmune diseases within the thyroid. It's a deepening of a compensation pattern when you don't listen. So with our body, it happens exactly the same way. And this is why I'm so excited, but also so bloody embarrassed, because I should have seen this many years ago. I'm sort of embarrassed it took me this long to figure it out with what I know and what I do. But so as you let the body reorganize itself and release old adaptations that are running too expensively, what happens is a new area will wake up. So say my calves, I could go through anything, but my calves were being used to stabilize my body. And that's not what your calves are supposed to do. They are prime movers, right? They are used for power, but my calves were being hijacked, I suppose, to try and create stability in my body. And that's why they were always so tight. But what happened as my body started to reallocate, I had huge pain between my, fibula head. Sometimes I'd think, God, is this? And then the next day it'd be fine. And I'd have a new level of spring in my body. And I'd be like, okay, interesting. Through my chest, as my pec minor and pec major released, they were doing jobs to stabilize my shoulder that they're not supposed to do, because my serratus was under moving and because my ribs were locked. And as my ribs started to expand and become more flexible, and as my breathing, my diaphragm wouldn't drop. I'm going quite specific here, but one side of my right side of my diaphragm would drop a little bit less than the left side, and that created a rotational restriction. As I allowed the body to be able to do this, the ribs started to expand, which then all of a sudden the scapulas started to work around my ribs and sit better on my ribs. And as that happened, as my body started to gain trust in its breathing apparatus again, then things would release. And as it would release, it would cause huge amounts of pain in some areas. And sometimes I'd be like, oh God, this is no good. What am I doing? And then it would release. And I've had this pattern always, like left side of my body has been my control side. It's very, very rigid and non-flexible. And my right side was always, my mobility side. And that's where all my injuries were. I had multiple ankle injuries on my right knee injuries, right hip injuries, right shoulder injuries, right neck. But where all the tension was down this side. So any time that I would get too stiff, either my forearm would go tight and pain, or my shoulder would just seize up, or my neck and my scalenes or my jaw, and that would pull my shoulder and my scap out, and I would always have to go get the chiro to crack through my whole thoracic area and neck. And as these changes were happening and these adaptations were happening, with the body doing it, me not forcing it anymore, me just letting the body go, but listening to the body and slowly allowing it and creating space for it to do what it needed to do, this never happened. So my forearm might blow up. And over this 7 months, I've had to teach myself how to write maybe 3 different times. Sometimes my hand would just stop. There's been some cool things like bouncing on a trampoline. The first time I went and bounced on a trampoline after doing this, I actually went to bounce and I couldn't even bounce. My body didn't, it was like it was like, what is this thing, a trampoline? And it just froze. It couldn't do it. And I had to just start with little ones. And it took about a month before it started to realize this. Same with writing, like writing left-handed, and all of a sudden I'd be like, I can't write anymore. I remember playing tennis and I went to serve and my arm just wouldn't go. I could lift my arm above my head. But as I went to this, it just stopped. It couldn't do it. So I had to lift my arm up like this and just serve with these little, I was like, sorry guys, I don't know what's happening right now. I've served for 40 years. Why can't I do it? But my whole body's rebalancing. It's been a crazy ride. It's been so incredible. So one of the biggest things that's been so crazy is even managing my body. I could never sleep too much. So if I slept too much, I would wake up sore always. So I had to, if I slept too little, walking used to make me worse. Breathing, I'd meditate and I'd force myself to be great at it. But, now all I do, no stretching, no anything, it's just walking. Sleeping feels like a massage, like breathing feels like an inside out massage. It feels it's like someone's getting inside me and releasing everything from the inside. And it feels so incredible. And just gentle rotations, I can't even explain it. It feels so incredible. So that's all I do now. When I say this, I do not stretch. I do not do any fascia work anymore. I do not do any more neural gliding. I do some activation exercises and I walk. I do a little bit of rotation and I breathe and I sleep. And that's it. One of the best things as well is I can slump. I've always been up like this my whole life, just like a rigid ruler. And, that's one of the things when people would walk past, they'd be like, man, your spine is so, like your posture's so good. But the thing is, I could never do this. This wasn't comfortable just to be down here like this. I'd be up like this because my spine wouldn't bend. And, I'd just adjust a few things here and here, but I can slump. Like I can sit in the couch for 20 hours a day if I want to now. I can go on a plane, I can go in the car. I'm not scared of seminar seats. I'm not scared of anything. I don't have to manage my body anymore. My posture used to be maybe, so impressive, but it created a lot of restrictions in my body. I don't have to fear a big day. What used to happen as well is any new activity that I would do, like if I'm not used to, maybe I'd go for a big hike or a big day in the garden, on the chainsaw, or a new sport, and my body would be like, okay, if we do things we know, it's okay, but if it's new, no way. Like, there would be a week of just, whoa, what was that? yeah, too much. I played a little bit too much guitar, or a little bit longer golf, or tennis, or anything, there would be a massive cost on my body. And it just doesn't happen anymore. I remember that's another thing I've even had to start reducing before December was serving in tennis. Again, if I had a really relaxed week and I was on my rehab work, I'd be great. But if I was slightly, a little bit less, a bit more pressure in work, a little bit more tightness, my QL would just go. And that serve would then, my shoulder would go out and it'd be like, oh, I can't even. So I stopped playing actual serving. I would just rally, because I had to manage my body. Now everything rotational just feels like medicine. It just feels so relaxing. So what I've gone through a couple of these, but I want to go from the bottom up and just show you all the different things that have changed in me. So my feet, I don't overpronate anymore. Even going up on the balls of my feet used to, I'd have little metatarsals that would stick out a little bit more. And because I'm so aware of them, I'd be like, why is my left foot different to my different pressure? I'd have more, I could never stand straight. I'd always be off. I'd stand with everyone used to know me for standing with one leg, one hip out on my, like this. Now I can stand straight and it just feels good. I've got no Achilles tension. Sometimes it blows me away, right? Where, after a big day, I think, oh God, I'm going to wake up sore tomorrow. And there's just nothing. When I run and walk now, when I run, I land in the middle of my foot. I always used to run on my toes and I always used to lean forward. Now I'm just so efficient. My body moves so beautifully. Like I said, my calves used to be part of my stabilization system with it, which they're not supposed to be at all. They are movement. So my calves are always tight. I don't need my calf block anymore. Standing, I can stand, and I use my stand-up desk all the time now, whereas I had a stand-up desk for the last 7 or 8 years. I couldn't use it because standing while working was like exhausting. My knees, this is a big one. My knees always used to roll in, and it's one of the things, even though I used to be fast, in childhood, and I went to state titles, and that was even after my injury where I know I lost acceleration and stuff, but I was never good at jumping. And it's because my knee used to always roll in. As soon as your knee goes in, you lose all that recoil and that power, right? And so for 26 years since I've really got into this, I've done so much glute work. I've seen every expert trying to, VMO work, ITB releasing, adductors, everything, proprioception, everything to try and get my knees to stay out. And now they can't go in. They do not go in. And it's even changed the way that my pants sit, and my hip is now more forward. I used to always I couldn't wear jeans with a zip, because the zip would undo a little bit and always be open, and there'd be that little spot in where it'd be open. Now it sits straight. My hips have gone in a little bit because my pelvis is different. I can't, my glutes activate. I've always had quite defined muscles, but always underdefined hammies, like just flat. Now they're activating naturally because they're not turned off. They're there. My center of gravity feels lower. Like as I walk, it feels like I can turn, whereas I used to feel like as I was getting older and older, I felt way less stable. I've got zero hip pain. I haven't done a psoas release or anything like that, or QL or any foam rolling on my quads. I used to have to foam roll my quads all the time, and my ITB. Oh my God. None of it. Like I can dig into my ITB right now. I remember before every AFL game, I used to get the sports physio, used to get their knuckles and just drive it down my ITB. Nothing. Like I can kick, it's just, when I run now, I always used to run and my hands used to do this, like flop, flop, flop. Now I sort of run like this, and I didn't even mean to change it, but it's just this rotational efficiency where I'm landing mid-foot. All the drive, I'm not leaning forward, my posture's good, and I've got this acceleration that feels like I'm like almost like running like a lion or a panther. Like, it feels silly to explain, but sometimes I'm walking in the street and I feel like, like maybe I'm a pimp in a 70s movie. Like I feel like I'm strutting like this, but it's just, and I think, come on, walk. But I was so used to just being like an army sergeant, really. So I've just got this relaxation in my body. It feels like I've got the spring of a child. And that's why I say I feel like I've lost 30 years, but I've never even felt this good ever. It's like I've reset my body, just like I do with clients in their organs and their emotions, like, emotionally, etc., removed all those things that were stored in there. And as we release that, I remember one of the releases as I was releasing the connection of my tongue to my diaphragm and my eyes. And as I did that, it was like my tongue, it was like it was leaving my body, like someone had grabbed it and was pulling on it for about 30 minutes, like, felt like I was choking. And then a release of that was like, oh my God, my eyes don't feel connected to my tongue and I can breathe differently now. And I mean, since that's happened, my singing, it's crazy. With my diaphragm, what was happening was I was needing my neck muscles and my larynx to control my air pressure, which my diaphragm was supposed to. But because my neck and my neck muscles were being used to part of my stability my fake stability for my shoulders and my breathing, these muscles, my actual larynx now can just flutter, and it only has to focus on stopping food going down. It's not being used as a stability, so it's got its function back, and my voice is different. My singing, I always used to have so much issues singing through the bridge and going above and under. Now I've done no changes in any other way. And I mean, this is a bit weird, but even, how will I say this without being rude? I always used to be a grower, not a shower. But because my hips are sitting differently and the nerve innervation and the blood flows better, I'm more of a shower right now. And even as you get older, sometimes your morning erections, they go for longer. There's no fallback because the power, it's like I've gone back to being a teenager or a 20-year-old in that area. My abs feel locked on at all times. I always have to think, why are my lower abs never activated or, etc. But it was because my body wasn't connected in that way. That was another adaptation. I've been a guitar player, was a guitar teacher, been playing in bands since little. And I mean, on the wall just over there, you can see one guitar, but I had to buy a classical guitar because I couldn't play bar chords anymore with the steel strings. And I just thought, well, I don't play that much. It must just be because I don't have that strength and I've lost it and I don't play enough. So I went and bought a classical guitar so I could play. Since this change, all of a sudden I've got the same, I was starting to think, oh, you lose everything. But it was like my forearm was becoming part of my structural stability system. So it lost its fine motor tuning and its strength. Now I can hold bar chords. Now I can move. My writing is different. What else? My spine, this is the biggest one. My spine has been like straight forever. It has now got its curves. It's got beautiful curves. And it's just, I can rotate. When I used to have to do stretches, it was like I'd have to stop in the center and I'd be like, okay, I'm moving to the other side now and almost brain activate. Now I just move to the other side. I can move my hands behind my back now again. I've got, my tennis serve is totally different. Like I said, I haven't had to need to go to the chiro. My body has self-adapted perfectly for 7 months through some big moments, some big work periods, it's just been incredible. Like I said, guitar, bar chords, even vibrato, just being able to hold that and vibrato on a note. I'd lost that in my playing, and my playing sounded so bleh. What else? I told you about my voice, my eyes. My eyes have been, as I'm aging, been going a little bit worse. And so I've got an eye chart and I've been doing eye exercises for the last 5 or 6 years. And as I would do my exercises, my eyes would improve, right? Like and etc. But as soon as I'd stop, they would reduce. Now my eyes have gone back. I actually went into an optometrist prior, and he's like, "You can't fix this." And I'd ordered some glasses and everything, and I haven't even picked them up yet because my eyes feel great. What else? My structural in my face, my body tension and like I could never even wink. So you can see that it's not a great wink because I've got like little eyes, but I never used to be able to close my right or left eye, and I can do that easily now, and I can do it without having to squish up my muscle. I can just do it. So I know it sounds crazy, but all my face, I've got quite an expressive face and etc. But a lot of that was tension, and so I've lost a lot of facial tension. I mean, for the first time in my life, I'm actually getting compliments on my looks, which is crazy. I've never had that. And I just believe it's got to do with, I guess that's why people do Botox and stuff, right? It's like less tension, you look a little bit lighter but mine's coming from the less tension through my body, less tension through my jaw, through, I feel like I'm at least 30 years younger in my body. I wake with energy. I don't have to overmanage. I'm not wasting time doing all these stretches. My gym routine, I can just go in and out. I jump on the treadmill now for 5 to 10 minutes and then bang into my session. I feel like a little kid that can just jump and run around, and I'm back to playing like that with my kids. The shifts have been wild. Like I said, it's only, and I guess even though I'm embarrassed that it's taken this long, it's only through me knowing and watching other people's changes and my changes in the other side of things with their liver, with their pancreas, all these things that I've been able to go, okay, just all the other data is working in the right way. Yes, your shoulder's on fire today, or yes, your knee. Like as my knee's been changing, it's been so funny watching as your hips move. I'm not doing anything, but the body is doing it. And as that shifts, and it's like every time, like the amount of times my fibular head has like become aggravated as my hips changed. And then again, another part of my feet goes, and then all of a sudden the fibular head, my radial has same deal, like radius and ulnar, these little things are cracking all the time. My ribs are like pop, 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 pop. Whereas they used to be so tight, and I'd be like, oh God, what's going on? And then just, it's like, no, let the body do what it needs to do. And then the next day, it's pretty much a 24-hour, I'd feel extremely tired, might have a bad sleep, and then 24 to 48 hours later, complete change. What I want to finish with is, I'm not saying that this system that I've created, like the emotional fitness, emotional efficiency system, the human efficiency method, the biochemical efficiency system, they've been something that I've spent, I've just got proof, 25 years of proof, and especially the last 5 years where previously, again, I would force the system to do something and then it would respond. But as soon as you stop, it will go back. Now, I've got so much ability to be able to take someone through this. The structural efficiency system, it's only been proven with me so far. So I haven't taken anyone through it. I've got a couple of people that are beginning to do that are at the right stage to do that. So I don't want to claim anything crazy right now. I'm just so excited because this is what in this last 7 months has really brought everything I've done for my entire life together. And it's so exciting to go, wow, even adaptations in your body where your body, I would have sworn, I've never seen it where the spine just goes, you know what, I'm going to change completely. I would love to show you the contraption. I used to have this head thing that on with a weight on it. I used to put something in my neck and hold my neck behind the door. And, I was with a chiro for a couple of years trying to force a curve into my neck, and it was like, oh, you've got a 10% extra curve. And I don't want to put down anyone's practice actually, but it just went back, Now it just sits there. It's just, and I can feel the difference. It's so exciting. So I guess coming back to the whole focus of human efficiency, which is we want to do the least amount of work to get the biggest amount of results. So I don't want to spend, this is where most people are burnt out, and this is my expertise, right? Is they used to spend, their body might have taken $1,000. It used to cost $100 a week to run your body. Now, because of every adaptation your body's had to make, it's now costing $1,000, but you might only earn $600. So you've got no energy, no capacity left. People in business make this mistake all the time, which is why I always say, output is revenue. Revenue means nothing, right? What we want is profit, but efficiency is profit. We want to spend the least amount to get the greatest amount of revenue and get the most amount of profit in your business. You want that in your body too. What I was doing with my structure, my digestion, my everything else need no management. My emotions, I just naturally come back on. It's like the outside world has no ability to throw me off anymore. But structurally, I was managing and I was wasting so much effort. And because my body was so tight, like I said, when I get massages now, there's just no knots. There's nothing in there that it just feels like they just go through butter. Whereas previously, I was like this. It was just like my muscles were like not. I can't even explain it. The first time was so weird. It was like what is this feeling? Not going through. I just thought knots were normal. And most of my clients have ever had constant knots as well. So I'll leave you with this. If your body needs constant management, maybe it's not broken. Maybe your body, your automated systems are doing it for a reason. Maybe they need to protect you. So instead of asking more tools, instead of biohacking and just adding more things, adding more systems, adding more tools, adding more supplements, adding more things, maybe it's like, well, why doesn't the system trust this? And why is this pattern, and what I've done since is start to analyze different clients without them knowing and looking at the different structural changes and looking at the protections based on their emotions and what I know about their biochemistry. And I've started to map where a structural system starts to choose a protective pattern, not a single organ or not knees, not hips, not anything, but a pattern. And this is where the language and where the entire part of the human efficiency system comes from. There's 4 ways to make a change in your body, right? Or to fix something. So step 1, level 1, which is standard Western medicine, right? We might give Voltaren, like have you seen the ads where they say Voltaren treats the cause of the pain? Like how much ridiculousness is that? But that's level 1, where you're just shutting down a symptom. It's like my headache. The issue for my headache is because I haven't had enough Panadol today. You're just shutting something down. Your body's speaking and you're not listening. In fact, worse than not listening, you're shutting it down. That's not what we want to do, right? Level 2 is where for your knee, you'll get a massage on your knee. So you are trying to improve it, or you might activate a muscle on the knee. Level 3, and this is where I thought was, and this is where pretty much everyone, if you go to see a shitty therapist, they will treat it at level 2. They will look and go, oh, your knee pain. Okay, I'm going to release that. Level 3 is where the great therapists, where the holistic therapists go, and they go, okay, I'm going to look at your feet and your knee and your hip, and I'm going to give you exercise for all of them. I'm going to treat it as a system, and we're going to look at which muscles are tight, which muscles are weak, which muscles, are compensating, and I'm going to give you a whole body system. Level 4, which is where the human efficiency system sits, and it's above everything else. It doesn't ask that. It says, why does the body need to do this? Where is the protection? Where is the lack of trust? And how can I reduce the adaptations to the point where the body regains trust in its natural movement, in its preferred movement, and then it just lets it go? And my understanding and what I've seen and what I see every single day in the emotional sphere. So things with, again, I don't treat diseases, but with what I do, diseases just go, because when the body doesn't need anything anymore, it doesn't create it. And so if the way that I see and the way I treat everything is, if you've got anxiety, if you've got ADHD, even autism, epilepsy, neck pain, any change that wasn't there initially, gut pain, gastritis, any autoimmune disease, the body is creating it. You haven't been listening, it's been speaking, and it's created that for a reason because it's had to. It's going, I need to create this. High cholesterol is a great example. High blood pressure is a great example where when we reduce the reason for its needing that, it goes in a second. Again, even a spine like mine that's been held by muscles in the same position for 40 years, click, spinal curves back, elasticity back, bounce, power back. It happens like this when the body says, you know what? I don't need this anymore. And that's what I've seen over and over. This is why people come to me to remove their autoimmune diseases, right? It's like, this is why I can reverse osteoporosis when modern medicine says you can't do that, because I'm not treating the disease. I'm treating the adaptation in the body. I'm looking at where the body no longer has trust, when it has to protect, and where it has to adapt. We don't want to adapt. We want to address. So when something happens to you, a stimulus comes in that pushes you off center, whether it's, your blood sugar goes up. We want to be able to go, I'm going to allocate the right resources to bring that back down and address that and not lose anything of myself. If we adapt, what that means is I've been forced off center. I now have to adapt and lose part of my capacity, which means I'm adding rent dollars. So, I was $100. I'm adapting. Now I'm $101 a week. Oh, I've adapted again and I couldn't get back on center. So I didn't address the problem and come back to just me. I had to adapt, and there was cost associated with that. A lack of trust adds up, and now I'm at $200 a week. And you can see how people just, all of a sudden, they're paying $700 a week for what used to cost $100. So their profit margin's gone. They've got that's where brain fog comes from. This is why brain fog goes in a millisecond once we remove that. This is why your ability to, distraction, anxiety goes straight away when it's not needing to be amplified for a reason. The goal is not having to think about your body and your health at all. It's about just living, right? So I want to have to do the least amount of exercise. I don't want to have to work out 6 or 7 times a week because I have to manage my diet. If I want to work out because I'm having so much fun, yes, but I want to reduce the amount of things I have to do. I want to reduce the amount of restrictions. I want to reduce the amount of the loss of freedom. And anything where I have said to myself, well, that's just part of aging, that's just part of my history. Again, I'm living proof of someone who got it completely wrong, and I'm embarrassed to say it, right? But I'm also so bloody excited. So maybe this podcast has been all over the shop. Probably missed a heap of things that I wanted to say. But all I can say is structurally, limitations, your body, if it's got pain for a reason. It is making that decision, and you've never done anything that hasn't been to your greatest benefit. So you want to look at that and go, how is that serving my body, right? I'll give you an example. One of the number one reasons I see why people have pain is because it's a distraction, just like Netflix is a distraction, just like social media. If I've got some emotional pain that I need to push down, one of the best things is to have something that I can do it about, right? If I've got a sore shoulder, I can activate it, I can move my neck around. It becomes a distraction and it becomes a problem that I can fix. And so it's something that I get to focus, so it keeps me present. It's a distraction from what I don't really want to focus on. Once we remove the need for that pain, the body goes, well, I don't need to give you that anymore. There you go. Again, not always, sometimes, and I've said this many times, sometimes your adaptations, most of your adaptations, to be honest, if you're not purposely doing this in the right way, are negative. So you might stop having pain, but that's because the body's just given up on that strategy. You might have suppressed it with enough antidepressants. They use them for a lot of gut pain these days, and it's all of a sudden after a year or two, the gut pain goes, and it's like, yes, it's fixed. No. The body's just given up because you've stopped listening, and it's going to come back with something worse, something deeper, something more central to your operation. The human efficiency system works on the automated systems in the body. So anything that doesn't require conscious control. So your subconscious, everything in your subconscious, automated. Your heart doesn't need you to think beat, beat, beat. You can control it by slowing your breath, right? And getting fitter, etc. But anything in your body, your liver, you don't have to think, okay, detox that, detox that. Anything that's automated in your biochemistry, that's part of your automated systems. Your fascia, your structural or your stability muscles. You're not thinking rotator cuff, come on subscap, come on supraspinatus, activate. No, we might think, I want to lift this, and that is a conscious decision. But when I'm working with burnout, when I'm working with any disease, again, I don't treat diseases, they just happen to go while I treat the underlying cause of excess cost in the body. But I am working on the connection between the automated systems and that link between what the CEO of the body, the conscious CEO, is directing them to. So, hope you enjoyed today. If you've got any questions, please reach out to me, and I will see you on the next podcast. Bye.